Good morning. You're tuned into Ask Profit. I'm Smriti Chaudhary, and for the next 30 minutes, I'll take all your stock-related questions. To write to us, you can either message us on the WhatsApp number that will be on your screen, or you can write to us on any of our social media channels. I'll also be tracking the YouTube live chat, so you can write your questions there as well. Now, before we jump into the questions, let me introduce you to the guests for today. We have Saurabh Jain of SNC Global and Ajit Mishra, who will be joining us soon of Religare Broking. Welcome, Saurabh, and Ajit will be joining us soon as well. Now, before we talk about the focus and the questions, let's take a quick check on the markets and where they're at. If you look at the Nifty 50, it's pretty much flat right now. Benchmarks have been flat for a bit now, but it's more or less in the red territory. That's currently where we're at. If you look at the contributors of the Nifty 50, you have the likes of Power Grid, BPCL, Infi that are the biggest laggards today. However, Tata Steel, JSW, Hindalco are all up, and which is why the Nifty Metal Index is the biggest gainer in trade today. Now, this comes on the back of China cutting rates to kind of push the demand for the property sector. There have been rate cuts, so I think there's some sentiment of demand kind of increasing going ahead for metals, which is why we're seeing an uptick. Hindalco is especially up because Novelis has filed for a public offering in US, so that's why it's up about 1.7% in trade. If you look at the broader markets, you have the mid-cap index that's also in red today, down about 0.2%. However, the Nifty small cap is considerably in the green, about 0.14% up or thereabouts. Let's also look at what's the biggest loser among sectors in trade, and that's got to be the Nifty IT index, which is down about 0.8% in trade today. There's also Nifty Pharma is in the red. Nifty Media is the biggest loser. Apologies, it's down more than 2% in trade. That's on the back of Z dragging today. If we can pull up the chart and see how much Z has fallen as of now, it's down about 10.5%. Now, this is also on the back of Z kind of clarifying that there are no such negotiations going on with Sony, and there are also reports suggesting some investigation from SEBI and some accounting discrepancies are there. But the focus for today is ABB India. Now, it came out with its results yesterday. If we can pull up the chart for ABB India, it was up about, it's up about 9% as we speak. And just to take you through where the earnings are for the fourth quarter, they were revenue grew about 13% to 2,757 crore. EBITDA expanded to 14% to 417 crore. Margin expanded as well to 15.13%. Not a big expansion there. It was 15% in the last year. Net profit also grew about 11% to 339 crore. Now, if you look at the order book of the company as well, there's a considerable momentum that continues in terms of large orders. The total order book grew 35%, and for the fourth quarter, fourth quarter orders were over 3,100 crores. That's where we are at for ABB India. Now, Saurabh, I'd like to understand from you. We've seen quarter four results. We're seeing great momentum in terms of the order book as well. From a longer term perspective, what would you suggest somebody holding an ABB, and what are your key takeaways from the results as well?
Hi, good morning. See, capital good industry is surely on an uptake. I mean, see the companies, they are having a good intake of order book, and the execution is doing even faster. Most of the corporates are now, going for expansion, and here in the picture comes ABB. It's a kind of a portfolio stock. The margin expansion is happening, double-digit kind of a revenue growth is there, and in fact, I think going next year, I think things will move much faster. So I think one who has it should keep it in the portfolio.
Okay, understood. Ajit has also joined us. Good morning, Ajit. Now, before I jump into the questions, I'd like to understand some key levels for the Nifty 50. We're seeing records high in the last 2 days. It crossed the 2,200 levels, but it's slightly below that today. So what are the key levels that you should watch out for?
Good morning. So broadly, yes, we have reclaimed the record highs. We've surpassed the hurdle at 22,150, and but now we feel that the way we are inching higher, as of now, it lacks decisiveness. Means we need a strong 1%, 2% kind of a move to end this consolidation and inch toward the newer highs. But nevertheless, the good part is that banking is participating. So as long as we are seeing this participation strengthening from the banking space, we expect this upward momentum to continue. And 22,500 is what we are eyeing in the near future. And now 22,100, 22,000 zone is the area of support. So it's a buy and dip market. But since the momentum is missing, one should be selective in the buying and prefer the sectors and stocks which are showing resilience during the down days.
Okay, all right. Now, on that note, the first question is on a bank as well. We're talking about HDFC Bank. This one's from KN Raju. They want to know if they should invest at current levels for HDFC Bank. It's down about 0.5% in trade today. We've seen some downturn in the stock for HDFC Bank. Saurabh, from a long-term perspective, would you suggest buying at these levels?
See, if you look at the valuation, I think it looks very interesting, but it's kind of a contrarian bet as of now. I think the company will take approximately 6-9 months to, because of that merger, to shed high cost of deposit and to bring deposits to CASA, bring CASA back to the level it enjoys before merger. And the management has also categorically said that they will go slow on the advances side of the book. So I think as of now, it is a contrarian kind of a call. If you have a horizon of more than 2-3 years, then you can chip in a staggered manner to buy in, thin quantities. Otherwise, wait for 6-9 months, and then when the things will improve, the balance sheet will improve, the CASA will improve, and things will be better. Then you also can enter.
Okay, Ajit, do tell us your levels based on the charts for HDFC banks as well. Would you suggest the same thing, that if somebody wants to enter the stock, they should wait for 6 to 9 months? Because we have a lot of questions around HDFC Bank.
Honestly, since 2019, if you see that we are still around those levels, means yes, there was a bit of an improvement, but we are somewhere around 1,300, 1,400 kind of a band earlier also, and now we are inching or trading closer to that mark. So yes, there's an underperformance which is clearly visible from the price performance also, and short term, but I believe that it's going to be more of like this underperformance might continue, and I feel that from 6 to 9 month or a year time horizon, ICICI and Axis, they are comparatively better structures. So if you are looking for less than a year time horizon, then one can look at for the other alternatives. And if the time horizon, as Saurabh mentioned, is more than 2-3 years, then definitely one can look at SDFC for accumulation.
Could you give us the levels as well for Axis?
Yeah, so certainly. So Axis and ICICI, I feel that they are among the top performers within the private banking space. They are trading closer to the record highs. Now we have very strong base around 950 to 1,000 when it comes to the Axis, and upside is open. Means as per the previous consolidation, I won't be surprised if we test 1,200 plus zone by the end of this year, and maybe higher. And for ICICI also, we are seeing a similar tone. In fact, it's comparatively better than the Axis. And 1,300, 1,250, 1,300 something that ICICI may also test in next 6 to 9 months.
All right, understood. Next up, we have a question from Mohit from Ludhiana. He's talking about Coal India. He's already bought the stock at 152 levels. It's considerably higher from that point, but post its earnings, Saurabh, we've seen the stock declining. There's some contraction in the e-auction premiums. But from a longer term perspective, Mohit's time horizon is about 2 years. Would you suggest holding on to this? And what kind of upside do you see in the stock as well?
I think it belongs to metal and mining. And here the prices do makes a very meaningful impact on their numbers, on the operating margins and the profitability. The stock has already gained multifold. I mean, from 100 odd level to 100 odd level, now it has been above 400. I think it is a time to take profits from the table, since the company has categorically said that the e-auction prices have dropped down significantly. In my opinion, I think the stock can cool down further. So better take profits from the table and invest in the sector like we like IT sector, and we think it can be a dark horse for the year. And even the banking stocks, I think they can he can shift money towards banking and IT.
Understood. Next up, we're talking about Tata Tele Services. This one's from Sanjeet, and he bought the stock at 2.5. The stock is currently above, hovering around 90 rupees. Now, Ajit, would you suggest booking profits and get out of the stock, or should you wait, or there is more upside to this one?
See, the time horizon and the kind of investment means he has been holding this when the stock made a record low around in 2020 and is still holding. If he has made investment based on the fundamentals, means from the different perspective, then it's a different story. But I feel if you have made this is a short-term investment opportunity and you have this windfall gains, definitely you should book profit and diversify your position to the other counters. So, in case if you want to stick with some of these prominent names, especially in the market like this, we have been trading at record highs. Bharti Airtel, Ultratech, ICICI, like some of these names that we were discussing, one can invest in those names after taking profit.
Okay, understood. Next up, we have a question from Tarun Agarwal, and he's talking about JSW Infra and Vedanta. Is it a buy at current levels is the question. They haven't mentioned if this is for the longer term or the shorter term. But Saurabh, considering what we're seeing in metals today, from a longer term perspective, should you get into the stock?
Is not the best one among the metal names. I think it is better to avoid because of the huge debt pile on the balance sheet, and the rating agencies have also been closely watching the numbers. Regarding the JSW Infra, I think it can be a good bet. I think buy in a stagger.
And from a shorter term perspective, Ajit, JSW and Vedanta, good time to enter the stock?
So, in fact, I'm very closely eyeing Vedanta because if you have noticed that other metal counters, they have done exceptionally well, in the recent run. But Vedanta is still hovering in a very narrow range around the previous swing high. So, yes, there's a possibility that in short term we may see strong, swing once it crosses 285. So, the risk reward is favorable because we have a very strong support now at 265. So, once we cross 285 level, then 300, 310 should be the probable target. So, with stop at 265, definitely one can look at Vedanta for accumulation. And JSW Infra also, the stock has again reached closer to its record highs. So, we may see some consolidation. So, if the view is short term, one can wait and let the stock witness a dip towards 230 for fresh entry. And your stop should be at 220 in that case, with 245 to 50 being the positional target.
All right, fair point. Those are the targets for JSW Infra and Vedanta. Next up, we're talking about Mishtan Food. This one's from Murli Dharan, and they've bought the stock at 12 rupees a share. It's about 22 rupees as of now. Saurabh, is this part of your coverage? Is there a target on this one?
Extremely sorry. Don't cover this one.
Okay. We'll take this to Ajit then. Ajit, any specific targets on Mishtan Foods?
So, see, the stock is in BSE and we actively don't track, BSE names. So, I'm unable to give the target right away.
Okay, fair point. We'll slip into a short break now, but after the break, we'll take a lot more questions. So, stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Ask Profit. Let's quickly dive into the questions. The next one is coming from Sagar. That he's talking about Alembic Pharma. He holds a significant quantity from, he says, less than 500 levels. The stock has doubled from that. Sort of from a longer term perspective, should you book some profits and maybe keep holding on to the original quantity, or should you keep holding on to it because there's more upside left? What's the long-term perspective on this one? And talk to us a little bit about pharma on the whole as a pack as well.
See, if you talk about the pharma as a whole, I think the pressures which were there in the US and Europe markets, many of the companies are feeling that they are abating somewhat. And many of the Indian pharmaceutical companies are venturing into the newer verticals. If you look at the APL numbers also, the last quarter's numbers were very interesting. I mean, they saw double-digit kind of a growth. There was an improvement in the margins also. The company is also venturing into the therapeutic areas, if I remember correctly. And the management is quite confident of for the good growth going forward. So I think we have a very constructive view, especially on the APL, Alembic Pharmaceutical. And we believe that it can be a very good bet if one holds for another 1 year or 2 years. So I think 20-30% kind of a return one can generate easily in this year. So it's a hold from me.
Ajit, is that what you reckon as well? This has been a multi-bagger in the last 1 year. Is there more steam left from a short to medium term?
The short to medium term, we might see a breather, after this phenomenal up move, because the stock have reclaimed its record highs now after almost 2 years, 3 years of down move, post this decline in 2020. And usually we see a breather once the stock reclaims their record highs and form a fresh base. So if the view is short term, I would recommend one should book profit, around the current levels and let the stock form some base around the record highs before the next up move. And if the time horizon is long term, definitely you should maintain a trailing stop, at 1,000, because below that again the bias would turn sideways to negative. So in either of the case, maintain strict stop losses or book at least partial profit if you have invested at the bottom.
All right, fair point. Next up, we are talking about Forgings. This one's from Manish Patwari. He bought the stock 6 months ago above 1,000 levels, 1,088 to be precise. The stock is below that. Ajit, what kind of levels should you watch out in this one?
See, Forging is basically hovering in this band, 900, 1,050 on the higher side to 850 on the lower side. So we are almost there, means, we are trading closer to the upper band. Good part is that we have seen an uptick in volume with the rise in prices. So there could be an attempt of a breakout this time. So he may continue to hold, and now 930, since it's a high beta counter, should be the stop. And once it crosses 1,050, then maybe a newer trajectory closer to around, let's say, 1,150 to 1,200 is something that he can wait for.
All right, fair point. Next up, we have a question from Pranay Mitra. And here now we're talking about some PSU stocks like RVNN and IRFC for the longer term perspective. We've already seen a run up in these stocks, Saurabh, but it seems like a lot of viewers now want to get into the stock. Would you suggest getting at these levels, or do you think the valuations are expensive at this point?
See, while the companies are good, they have good order book, but at these valuations, it's a simply no for investing in these companies. I mean, they can correct, very, very steeply. I mean, they still have to prove their matter. And many of the businesses are in the B2B business, in which, margin expansion is very, margin expansion would be very trickier for them, I think. So we are not recommending these stocks.
All right. Just taking this forward, you have another question from Nilu Das from Kolkata, and he wants to know if they want to get into railway stocks, is there anything within the sector that you would suggest?
I think we can't suggest any of these stocks because many of the companies are good, but the valuations are extremely high.
Okay, so are you saying is it too late to get into railway stocks?
Of course. In my opinion, I think IT sector is a good sector which one can look upon. I think all the three biggies, Infosys, TCS, HCL, one can look for the long term.
All right, fair point. Next up, we are talking about LIC now. This one's from Muralidharan as well, and LIC is on the minds of a lot of viewers. We've seen the levels cross above 1,000, and now viewers are asking about should they wait to sell the stock till it crosses 2,000 levels. Do you see that trajectory in the longer term, Saurabh? I'll come to you, Ajit, on this one as well.
I think it is very difficult to take a call of whether it can reach 2,000 levels or not, because valuations are also high. See, LIC have made good money because of the huge run-up in the market. That is what the prices are discounting. If any kind of corrections do comes in the market, we'll see the same kind of a correction in the LIC prices too. So on the valuation front, I think it's priced to perfection. So it's very difficult to take a call there.
All right, fair point. Ajit, on LIC, what are the charts showing?
So, it took almost more than 1.5 years to reclaim its IPO levels, and now we are seeing a bit of a beta. So I feel, instead of like focusing on, 2,000 maybe higher levels, one should respect that the stock has, doubled in less than 6 months. So now, if you see that from the shorter time frame to medium-term time frame, it would be healthy if we manage to hold these levels. Means 900 zone is something that one should keep a close eye on, because below that again the tide might turn against LIC, and we may again see some profit taking coming in. So if you have already invested, then keep a close watch on how the earnings and the other parameters are panning out. But at the same time, if it slips below 900, then definitely you should take a call whether you wish to invest it for next 2 to 3 years or not.
All right, fair point. Next up, we have a question from Shankar from Tuticorin, and they're talking about Sun TV. They bought the shares at 445 levels. It's considerably higher. Ajit, good time to book profits, or should you hold on to it?
Sun TV, I feel it's a normal retracement that we are seeing in the stock, and it has already corrected from 720 zone to 620 area now. So I feel that we are closer to the immediate bottom, though it may spend some time around the current levels, forming a fresh base. But downside seems capped. So yes, you can continue to hold longs, and as a trading position, 590 should be your stop. And if you wish to add to your longs, you can do that once it crosses 640, because above that, we may see fresh momentum in the stock, which could help the stock to reclaim its previous swing high around 700, 720 area.
All right. Next up, we're talking about Jio Finance, and this one's from Manish, and they've bought the shares at 265 levels. Saurabh, from a longer term perspective, how does Jio Finance look? We've seen a good amount of traction in the sector.
See, from the long-term perspective, I think it comes from the Reliance camp, and the company has huge plans. And I don't think so that they would take much time, especially after the Paytm problem that we have just seen. So I think from the long-term perspective, Jio Financial makes a sense.
All right, fair point. We're getting a lot of questions on HDFC Bank. So viewers, we have already spoken about HDFC Bank. Do write to us about your other stocks as well. Next up, we have a question on BEPL, which is Bhansali Engineering and Polymers. This one's from, I'm not sure if they've given their name, Prasad. This one's coming from Prasad, and I'm not sure if they've bought into the shares, but the stock is down about 1% in trade today. Would you suggest buying into this one, Ajit, now that we're seeing a little bit of a downtick in the stock?
See, the stock has done well, means from 48 to 120 mark in last almost 8-10 months, and it has retested its record high zone. So basically around that area, we had multiple attempts in past also, which it couldn't surpass and hold. So this retracement with low volume is definitely a positive thing. But for fresh buying, I would rather wait for the confirmation that the trend is still positive. So a breakout above 105, then one can make it, for the fresh long position with 120, 125 being the target area. And your stop should be at 95 in that case.
Right. Fair point. Quick last question, Saurabh. This one's from Raghuram Patro, and they're talking about Orient Green that they bought at 22 and Adani Power that they bought at 300 levels. Talk to us a little bit about the long-term perspective, and should you continue holding on to both of these two?
The power sector overall outlook looks quite interesting. I mean, the last year we saw 10-12% kind of volume growth. In previous year also we saw that kind of a growth, and this year also I think the government focus and the way the companies are planning to enhance their capacities. I think it's paying its dividend. Among the power sector, we are quite focused on the companies like NTPC, NHPC, SJV. We find those stocks quite interesting.
So NTPC is one of the picks. We had a question on NTPC as well. But don't worry, we'll take it tomorrow. Unfortunately, we're completely out of time today. Thank you so much, Saurabh and Ajit, for joining in and for answering so many questions for us. And viewers, stay tuned. Lots more coming up on NDTV Profit.